Hi, my name is Amber Clay, and I'm going to be talking about my third quarter project. I went to Crocker Art Museum, Sacramento, and I went to check out their Black History Month gallery. So I'll be talking to you about that experience. So I went in the month of February, obviously, which is the Black History Month. I really love the city, so that was really fun for me to go and kind of see that. Um, but yeah, we went and the building was beautiful. It was really contemporary and new. And then there was an older kind of building, which was also very beautiful. And that was more Victorian, I would say, kind of. So when we got there was this beautiful chandelier that was displayed, like in the entrance when you walk in. It was like glass chandelier, so beautiful. So I took a little video of that. And then you walk in, you signed up, and there was this, like, it was like almost like a farmer's market kind of feel. You would walk down and there were little stores and booths set up, and they were all selling like traditionally African art and like clothing and jewelry and beautiful pieces from that were like African style artwork. So we checked that out, and that was gorgeous. There was a really cool painter who was painting like on the spot artwork right in front of you. So I got a video of that. That was cool. But yeah, so for a part of this assignment, I have to talk to someone. So I decided that I would go on a tour. I thought that would be the best way to talk to someone and go on a tour. So we met our tour guide. Her name was Christy. She was super sweet, very talkative lady, so that was really helpful. And I thought it was going to be a little harder because I thought the tour group would be bigger. So then I wouldn't, I'd feel awkward asking questions. But I went on the tour, and it was only me and my mom and my dad. And it was a very small group, and I had a bunch of fun, and Christy really helped, answer questions that I was confused about. So that was great. So something that I learned that I didn't really know was in museums, you actually start from the top of the building on the very top floor, and then you make your way down, which is interesting because I don't know, it's just a museum fact I've never really known before. So we went to the top floor to start, and that was the floor that was displaying the Black History Month art. So that was cool to see. So the very first one that we saw was this kind of thug-looking character, and he is wearing this white bandana and this blue jacket, and there's a bright red background. And we saw this picture, and it was really interesting because I wasn't expecting there to be modern pictures. I was expecting it all to be from before 1900s or very, very early era of slavery kind of, and Jim Crow laws, I guess, and that kind of era. And I wasn't expecting it to have artwork that was more contemporary, but it was really a shocking kind of photo, really profound. It was, I don't know, it was very interesting seeing this dangerous kind of looking guy as such a beautiful, portrayed as such a beautiful man, I guess, and that he has beauty within him. And she talked about a lot of the symbolism that was going on. So he's holding up a tulip, and she said that can kind of be that represents the stereotype of, African Americans having bigger lips, and how that for a long time was made fun of, or something that was seen as ugly, but it is actually something that can be more beautiful. She talked about the bright colors. I think she talked about oh yeah, the letters on his jacket spell out Nigeria, and that's where the artist, she still told me that was where the artist came from. So that was his home country, or maybe it was his father's home country. I think it was his father's home country. but regardless, he put that symbolism in as tribute, and I thought that was really interesting. So the next piece is this beautiful flower branch, and it's made completely out of glass, which I thought was incredible, because if you can see those little flower pockets, those are so cool. Like, they are literal pockets of glass, and then the glass hanging down on the sides of the flowers, that's so delicate and fragile. It's just incredibly beautiful, and it really shows the fragility of this flower and kind of nature itself, but it looks so real. It looks so real. The artist really wanted to capture the fragility of nature and the world, so she did that with the representation of glass artwork, which I thought that was very interesting and a really, really beautiful sight. And we also saw pictures and paintings and artwork that was not about Black history specifically. It was also, we also saw artwork from like Mexican history, and there was a lot of Catholic history and Asian history. So we saw this beautiful picture of a Latina girl, and she was, spread lying out, and it just showed the beauty of that culture and the simplicity of it, with her dress just being plain white and red. We saw this sculpture of a church, a chapel, and the chapel was a tank, and it's just kind of, it's so I want to say cynical, but just very satirist. There we go, satirist. And it really just shows how destructive sometimes religion can be, and how destructive religion was often in Europe, pushing out a lot of minorities. And that's why a lot of people came to America in the first place, was because they had that push factor out of their own country. And a lot of it was that they couldn't have freedom of religion by themselves. And typically it was by the Christianity, by Christian church was pushing them out of where they were. We saw another work of art, and it was really beautiful. It was this astronaut and this kind of space-like artwork, and it was all done in like gray, except for this spurt of color at the very bottom right-hand corner. And I thought it was really interesting because what Christy said kind of was, she was talking about the stereotype of African Americans playing basketball a lot, and it shows a little man playing basketball up in the upper right hand corner. But I thought that it was really deep because the astronauts, I felt, represented how alienated sometimes African American people can feel in their own skin, in their own home, and in their own society. They can feel alienated. So they're portrayed, that this artist, I believe, was portraying that as this astronaut character. There were a lot of tapestries, which I, in my younger years, I studied for a little bit, like just a little. I studied African American artwork when I was like homeschooled at first grade, but I just remember that there were a lot of tapestries, and that was kind of it. Like that's all I remember, really. And I thought it was kind of interesting because, first of all, I didn't see a lot of tapestries at the Crocker Art Museum. We saw a lot of beautiful pieces of art, and just a couple tapestries. But I thought that was kind of a good example of misrepresentation of all I have ever seen, was those tapestries for some reason, and that's what was stuck in my head, even though that's not what Black History Month art was about at all. That's only a small fraction of it. But we did see some beautiful tapestries. I had a really hard time connecting with the beauty of the tapestries and the symbolism of them. My mom really finds a lot of symbolism in the tapestries, but for me, I there's just so much going on, I think, that it's just too much for me, and I can't connect with it on a deeper level. But I thought that they were beautiful, and some of them were very, very blunt with their message. Not only just tapestries, some artwork was very blunt with its message. So I thought that was very, well, profound, to be honest. That it was just, it was almost, you had to think of the bravery of the artist and the desperation of the situation that it was created in order to just blatantly say, you know, this is what this piece is about. This is it. This is the problem. This is what I'm representing, or something like that. It's truly impressive, that kind of courage that it takes, especially in those tapestries, because the ones that we saw were created a longer time ago. I can't remember the year. I think it was like the 1800s maybe. So that was a time where if African Americans kind of expressed their opinions more, they would get shot down for it, or not listened to, or shut up about it. So the fact that they created these art pieces that were so blunt was kind of like really, really impressive, and really deserved a lot of respect. So I think that probably was the symbolism that I was missing. I don't know. There was a lot going on in the tapestries. A lot of colors in the tapestries. And the last piece I want to talk about is this ladder, this glass ladder, made with little figurine objects that were also made of glass. And it was just really interesting because it looked like, at first glance, it looked like the artist just grabbed whatever was nearby him that was made of glass and put it in an art sculpture. I mean, it was like one of the items was like a cap of a glass vase or something, and he put it in. But I think that what it represents is the climb to being better on just straight up junk. You just have to get over the junk and climb over the junk in order to reach a new and a better situation, a better spot. So that's what it represents to me, at least. I think it was a really beautiful piece by itself and really challenging to make, which is really impressive. And it was also created by an African American. All of the pieces that I'm showing you guys were created by African American artists for Black History Month. So yeah, it was just a really incredible piece, and I think that was one of my favorites, along with the thug portrayed as kind of that more older kind of beauty. So this trip really challenged my expectation. I wasn't expecting a lot of the modern kind of art pieces that I saw. It was really interesting to see artwork not only from, because I have seen, you know, a lot of artwork from older times of, you know, African American culture, but it was interesting to see the newer art pieces that I haven't really seen before, and you just don't see very often, I guess. It's not something they show in history classes because it's something that's going on now. And I think that really changed my mind, because I think it really opened my mind to realize that this is not a problem that was, it is a problem that still is and is going on now, is racism and fighting in America. And I think that we can really learn from that, and I think that they should, in history classes, show that this artwork is not something of the past, and it's still something that's happening right now, and it's something that we can change, and something that we can help with as the youth of America. But this trip was really a great trip. It was very crowded at the museum when I went, and when we left, it was getting even more crowded. But I think that the biggest thing was, it wasn't just crowded because of the people. It was crowded. There were a lot of people there, but it was crazy because the art pieces had so much life to them. Each and every piece had, an artist, and that artist had a story, and then they had a reason that they chose what stencils they chose, and they had a reason that they chose the colors that they chose, and they had a reason that they chose the pose and the design, and the subject and the frame even. So in the end, when you really left a gallery room, it was crowded, but it was twice as crowded because every single picture had a character as well. I think my favorite piece that really challenged my perspective was that picture of a thug portrayed as just this beautiful kind of portrait. That was painted by the same guy who did Obama's portrait as well. But I think that really challenged my perspective of it because it made me realize that African Americans are often not displayed as beautiful. And I just realized that walking around, I went to the mall today and I'm seeing all of these advertisements and posters and models and everything, and you just don't often see just African Americans being, African Americans, and not being this kind of stereotype of a white colored person, but just being, their own culture. And if that's not really seen much, let alone seen as, beautiful or portrayed as gorgeous. So I think that if there's anything that we as people can learn from this is to just embrace and continue integrating and really realize that this problem is not something of the past. And even though we learn about it in history classes, it's not because it's over, it's because it's still going on, and we have to make sure that we continue to stop segregation and stop racism and try and accept everyone for who they are, and whether that means what they're born as or what they want to be, just really accepting everyone and learning to love and not judge, and care about people regardless of their race or skin color or any other born or preferred traits that they have.